Hello! Today, we're on a little bus ride. So, hopefully, you don't mind the scenery. After all, lots of trips and stuff in the future here coming up for me. My trip to Pennsylvania wasn't the only one. Anyway, today we're going to talk about the 360 digital store closure. I want to talk about a few different things other than just simply the closure, though. Obviously, we're going to rant a little bit about digital rights ownership and the good and the bad and stuff about this all being gone and stuff. So obviously, as somebody who likes getting physical media in that, and I'm not necessarily like sad in the sense that I'm missing out per se, but more so in the fact that things ain't being preserved, that things are going to be lost because of this, and worst off, on top of that, a lot of prices will likely be going up more than they always have, as some prices have gone up, but not to an insane degree yet, but quite odd for 360 games because my experience buying a lot of 360 stuff is it's always usually been the cheaper of pretty much everything. PS3 stuff used to be the more expensive version compared between the two, but now it's kind of shifting. Well, 360 stuff is starting to average between the $30 to $60 range for just like loose copies of stuff, which is very bizarre to me for a lot of games on the 360. But the digital store is officially closing and will be dead. So outside of piracy and that, you will not be able to buy any more titles. Now, I believe they said for now you could still re-download shit. I think I'm not 100% sure on that, to be honest. Um, but you definitely won't be able to purchase anything else. Now, this, like I said, is bad because the royalty stuff is going to go up from a collector's view, the money and the preserving of that. Now, I'll give Xbox some credit that they have spent a good chunk of the Xbox One series trying to work on backwards compatibility things and making games and titles work on the newer systems. And I give them some credit on that. The negative to those is those require downloads and stuff. There's no disc or anything that has like maybe a compilation of data or such, which is of course pretty annoying when it comes to that. Because and even the 360 had that problem with Xbox original backwards compatibility. You had to actually download that as a download thing on your 360. So even to that capacity, it still required a download. But at least, if I remember correctly, there were some discs that actually contained various versions of that. If I remember quickly, if I remember properly. But as far as I know, for the Xbox One series, there was nothing like that, since to do any of those downloads for the backwards compatibility would require the actual physical disc to be put in the system for that download to trigger for your console. So they made some titles work on them, but there's still a lot of titles that are stuck on the 360 only, both physically and digitally. And the loss of the store makes that ease of access gone, because with prices going up, people are going to scalp the fuck out of shit, and it's a shame to see that happening because a lot of these titles don't really deserve that. Now, there are some unknown titles that I'm not too shocked to actually see going up, but a lot of common titles are really odd to be seeing in the 40-60 range. It shouldn't like be there at all for any reason. It's like the same thing with like these Pokemon mainline Pokemon games. People are fucking charging like like fucking almost $100+ for. Like it makes no sense. It's not something that should be that much because there's plenty of fucking copies. Now, as I said, I'm not necessarily crying a lot of tears in a personal sense because I've always deemed non-DRM fail or DRM free digital services as a lost cause for the most part. Uh, when purchasing anything on such stores, you should be going into them with the mindset that you are just essentially renting them. You are renting them and not properly uh, properly uh, owning it or that. So that is kind of part of the course. Now, sorry, I got cable. I have a charge cable in my hand, so don't mind me. Now, oh, my wadded brain growing ever so old. Were we ever so young? But I always treat them as a license. Like other than GOG, DRM free Humble Bundle, Itch.io games or such that, like I treat them like a renting system because a lot of them have fleeted lives, especially when they're not on Steam. Steam, to be fair, Steam has, for the most part, continued its existence of its titles. Though, to be honest, something I do wonder is when Steam updates and says it's not compatible with older Windows. I kind of do wonder how the hell that works for older titles that don't work for newer Windows operating systems. Not quite sure how that works on Steam, to be honest. Would be interesting subject matter if somebody actually happens to know much about that. I don't personally, but the fact that all the 360, Xbox One series stuff have no DRM measures of being removed or anything, so ownership can be easily or managed. They have lots of DRM and crap in them, so there's no simple solution to a lot of this outside piracy, sadly, for the titles that never got any physical formats. And, you know, something I always wanted to kind of touch up on. I've told the story before of what really drove me to hate digital games, the PC era and stuff. I've mentioned it before. It's ironically it was the 360 that would do that. The 360 would make me think the digital era was going to be this magical revolution of indie games. And I mean, like, the digital age did bring forth that technically, but the 360 showed a lot of the dark side of the digital revolution. Because my original 360 died, it red winged, and back at that time period, Microsoft did not have a proper system about how to recover your digital goods when your system died. Their reply was like Nintendo's with the Nintendo Wii. Go buy them again. Go buy them again. Now, of course, any sane person's like, fuck no, give me my shit. Now, of course, with the massive death weight of the 360, there was no way they were going to simply get away with convincing so many people to fucking just rebuy all your digital goods. And that's where they started making the system, like home system and things like that, so you can manage moving your content to a new physical console and such. That in case it dies or you just get a new one or whatever. And they did get bail about that kind of thing a bit. Though some games, I had a few Sega games like Streets of Rage 2 that would never reactivate ever again, regardless of how many times I messed with those settings about my home console and stuff. So there were some games that eternally suffered complications from them fixing those problems there. But yeah, like, I got burned on a few of my games, and the radically how fucked up the system was back then really showed how your game library is really at the mercy of these people that own these systems and that. And you either need to put a lot of faith in the fact that they're not going to fuck you over, or accept the fact that you don't really get to have any real ownership rights over any of this stuff. And that was what basically made me have a glowing sentiment against a lot of digital goods and shit. And I appreciate places like GOG and places that host DRM free content. Like, I appreciate those services and that. But yeah, in the Xbox Series and Xbox One have shown with recent times that they're not very reliable with non-internet connections very well. We've experienced about 3 or 4 fucking outages where people couldn't play even those single-player games on their fucking consoles because of the settings. Now, a lot of times has to do with setting up your console as your home console, from my understanding. So you could say, "Ha ha, that's your fault for not setting up your console right." But I mean, should you really have to do that with single player content, offline content? Like, I don't think that should be something you have to actually fucking do to make your games actually fucking function on your console. And it's kind of a joke. So, I mean, honestly, like, I don't have a series. I barely have a PS5 just because of the shenanigans with its removable disc drive. And I only have an Xbox One because Dan found it really cheap, and then he played it for a while, and then he kind of got bored of it and didn't want it anymore. So I gave him $100 for it. That's the only reason I have an Xbox One. I like will probably never get a series. As much as I poke fun at at the PS5 having no real amazing exclusives for it, like anything, at least for me personally, the series is even like less a degree. I honestly can't think of a single thing that's exclusive on the series that I actually give a shit about. Microsoft has done well to kill everything I had any real interest in. Like the Phantom Dust. I was very interested in that. Alan Wake 2 would have been an amazing thing to ever see. But, of course, Microsoft sold the rights to that back to Remedy, and Remedy, made Alan Wake 2, and it's multi-plat. So, that was another thing that I could have been interested on with the thing. But honestly, the last few games I have any interest with on the X-Bone, so... But, it'll only be an eventual time where that stuff will end up in the same grave along with the 360 eventually. I believe a lot of the news sites saying about 19 years for the 360 of that. Sounds about right. That might be even longer. It is a shame because there were a lot of neat indie games. I remember playing a nice handful of indie games back when the 360 was early, because like I said, I was initially on the big hype for the indie revolution of people trying to stick it to the AAA market and shit. And of course that did happen, but yeah, like the 360's digital store has always been a bit of a not my best friend kind of thing because of my experience with the console in its actual lifespan. At this point, I've had 3 360s died on me now. So, obviously, I don't have very, I consider the console, not referring to its library games, but the console, the 360 console, one of the worst pieces of junk because of its high failure rate and shit. Very unreliable console. It is just so sad. It really makes me wonder how many of the damn bricks will even be alive moving forward at this point. Like most of the white ones are just considered automatic no's. Like a lot of places won't even buy them or shit unless they actually had work on them. Because like pretty much all of those are just set to die from the red wing if they haven't already died. It's such a weird like it kind of makes me wonder if it'll be like how the Philips CDI is, where it just has all this constant console failure, just always stemming around the damn thing. And you know, a lot of people are making videos on this topic and stuff. I'm not the only one talking about, the 360 store dying and that. You know, I actually clicked on this odd video this morning. Actually, it was titled like JRPGs are dying, and I was kind of like confused by it because we've been having lots of fantastic games being made, localized. Even fucking like, I mean, fuck, we got shit like Live a Live localized in America. Like, I'm like, how do you think JRPGs are dying right now? And it was really a video talking about this, about how the 360 digital marketplace is dying. Well, really, its point was that physical game prices for the system are going up. So it wasn't really about JRPGs are dying, but really the accessibility of just simply getting them digitally without paying for overpriced physical media was being taken away. So like it was a very, at worst, a clickbaity title, at best, not really well executed title on the topic of that. But I mean, it kind of goes into this still, though. Prices are going up on a lot of the media on the 360 and stuff, and the digital marketplace, like it or hate it for us who like physical goods, the digital marketplace does help keep prices down. The fact that they are there at a reasonable price does help some titles not become ungodly expensive. But when it's gone, then there's no, well, I could just get it for $5 when it's on sale on digital instead of these scalpers trying to buy a whole bunch of money, because when nobody buys the scalp prices, then the prices go down there. But if you don't have any options and you have a lot of free money and you cave in very easy, like you don't have the patience to wait for a nice deal or something. Because I honestly don't know where some of the people get the money to shell out like more than $100 for a lot of this shit, honestly. Like, I just finally got a copy of Saw 2. If anyone's familiar with Saw 2, is not easy to get for super cheap, especially on the PS3. The 360 version, I think, is still a little bit cheaper, but it's also up there because they're not available digitally anymore. They were long taken away because obviously licensing and stuff. Because Konami made those, so I finally got a copy of Saw 2. It costed me $63, which is it's a little bit pricey for a used PS3 game, but honestly, Saw 2, if you haven't looked at a lot of prices, it normally goes for a lot more than that. And this has like a damaged cover, which is probably one of the reasons it was a bit on the cheaper side compared to the $80 to $100 that people fucking try to sell the thing for. It's just, oh my god. I'm not happy to personally see the marketplace go because, like I said, it helped maintain some control with the prices and shit. But with it gone, it causes a lot of people want to try and inflate the prices. And with how hardcore scalping is nowadays, like you have all these speculative markets in the used market, from individuals to actual stores, trying to buy up all this stuff that they think is going to be worth money, and either always try to jack it up or hold on to it until it actually gets to a point they want to start offloading it and shit. And it's really sad to see people do that in the gaming space. Like, it's just, I understand some things are more desire than some things are well, but it's just a really shitty situation. That I'm not happy to see the marketplace go, but I'm not really surprised. Even Sony themselves have expressed wanting to get rid of the old stores. Luckily, the outcry convinced them not to get rid of the PS3 store for now, at least. But the game companies don't care about preserving this stuff. They don't, and they don't care about giving us any rights to any of this stuff. It's a real shame. And I don't blame anyone for pirating the games when they're permanently removed, or you're just trying to claim what you bought because of your hardware dying or hard drive failure or something like that. Like I don't agree with this whole fucking you bought a license and sorry for temporary. Like those kind of arguments are stupid. You know, I saw somebody on Twitter make that kind of argument. It's like, you know, oh, it's just a game license. You don't actually own it. I did a reply. Well, you don't own your car. You just technically license it to drive it around. Like, you see how stupid that sounds? You don't buy something to fucking just have the permission to use it. You buy something to fucking own and do what the fuck you want with it. You know what I mean? So like it's just stupid. I don't understand people who just like defend that. And that's not even to get into like the whole controversies with how the Game Pass has been affecting Microsoft's like income, money, and shit like that. You know, like that's a whole different subject matter, to be quite honest. But yeah, like Microsoft was probably not really making a lot of money off the 360 store much anymore, I imagine. But I feel like there is some responsibility to continue hosting this shit, to allow it be purchasable and downloadable. Like honestly, I feel it's sad. Like Nintendo, I think is one of the worst. Like it's sad to actually give Microsoft credit in this. Like I said, they at least have been doing an effort to make backwards compatibility shit. I mean, after all, they didn't have a lot to work with after they completely burned the fucking Xbox One's launch and shit, and customer faith and everything, you know. They had to latch on to something nobody was doing. You know, Nintendo is honestly the worst contender in this category of making a shop and shutting it down and rebuilding a new shop and shutting it down and rebuilding a new shop. We're to the point where these companies should be making a shop and have that shop carry over to the next hardware, expanding and building it instead of fucking shutting it down. Like, it's stupid that we keep doing this. Make a new marketplace. Making a new marketplace. And like every time Nintendo's done it, it's been worse and worse and slower in releasing games. It's a joke. We should have one fucking store for your company, like Nintendo, like using Nintendo, and it should be carrying over to every fucking console with all your games, or at least most of them. I mean, I'm sure to some reasonability there will be compatibility issues in certain ways, but you can always, you know, fucking sit your ass down and try to fix that. It's just. It's always sad to see stuff fade into the void forever, you know. Like I said, at the end of the day, I'm not crying personally because there's always lost media in everything. And sometimes some of it gets found, and sometimes some of it just remains gone forever. And it's sad. It is sad, but I mean, the realistic point for me is, you know, I own over 4,000 video games at this point. I have enough video games to probably realistically play way beyond my life if I could ever somehow live longer than a normal human. there's only so many video games I can play in my life. And sadly, stuff like this is just a way for me to cut some of it out, you know. Because, I mean, I don't really own it. Why should I care about buying it personally for the most part? I have thousands of fucking video games to get through. Many of them are interesting. Other ones are varying games of quality. Some might be sleeper hits. Some might not. Like I got plenty of different games of varying quality of that. To fantastic to laugh out loud bugs. It's sad at the end of the day, but there's not really a lot one can do about it. Aside from refuse to partake in it. Like I said, if we have more white, like if you had a white to download the shit and be able to properly preserve and put on any 360 or some shit, like, that would be more obviously better and user friendly. I mean, I get there has to be some kind of middle ground where you can't just simply just give all your friends a fucking free copy of a game. I understand to a certain extent of some management, but there's reasonable DOM like a PS3 disc will only work in a PS3 under normal conditions instead of throwing a PS3 disc into a 360. That's a reasonable thing of DOM. Online requirements and shit like that is just stupid and unreasonable, and it's horrible. Microsoft has said countless times that we are a very good company when it comes to avoiding e-waste, except all your shit is e-waste because you make all this DRM shit that all these fucking politicians that you shove money down their throats don't understand jack shit about anything that you fucking do with any of this shit. They probably don't understand the fucking Xbox One and Series are just fucking giant bricks now just waiting to stop fucking working on anything. As much as like I'm not a really big fan of the Xbox console itself, the Xbox 360, like the Xbox 360 console, like I miss like the old Blade menu. That actually was one of the best fucking menus. It's so sad how the 360 went from one of the best fucking modern console menus to the piece of lifeless garbage it is now. That's supposed to be filled with ads when you're online. Like, it's so sad we've went like that far with the damn thing. But I mean, the system did have a lot of amazing and fun games on the damn thing, both Japanese and non-Japanese, even though it was a funky era for normal JRPGs in general. That there's a lot of wacky games that were on the arcade and the that indie Microsoft store thing that was always shut down. I don't even remember what that was called. That's when that was the original place Breath of Death 7 was released. From the Call of Cthulhu guy, or not Call, not Call Cthulhu. Cthulhu the guy who made Cthulhu Saves the World RPG series. It's depressing. It's depressing. I'm not going to personally cry too much about the loss of the market. I got most games that I was interested in on the 360 far beyond this point. There was maybe a few random B-movie titles here and there or that with maybe a actual serious title I may not have. But I don't think there's too many titles in those fronts left for me on the 360. But of course, that's for me. Like, obviously for maybe you, a younging who's like, maybe like really, really fresh and new to the video gaming scene, and you're just probably like, well, what about me? This shit's like, let's say it's 12 years in the future from this video, and like this shit's like $200 a fucking pop now. That sucks. That really fucking sucks. Don't get me wrong, but sadly that is part of how these marketplaces work. Sadly, it sucks. It really does. But like I said, people, it's a mixture of not participating in the overpriced crap, but the problem is a lot of other people do, and they make the prices stay or go higher and shit. Honestly, at this point, I feel like this money laundering. Like, I feel like the video game industry's secondhand market literally became fucking like a place for money laundering sometimes. Some of these prices, I tell you, are absolute batshit crazy in that. But, yeah, it's gone. It's dead. I'm sure those things that will be lost on it and things that have been preserved, I'm sure they'll, because, this at least was something they told us in about a year advance. So I'm sure there was a pretty big collective effort to try and preserve a lot of these games, I imagine. But still, it's pretty weird. Honestly, though, something else I have to be wondering about. I've always wondered this: what are Sony and Microsoft gonna do with trophies and achievements eventually? Like, I don't know how much processing power there is to adding that stuff to counts, but I've always wondered like how that would work with these kind of situations. So I guess maybe we'll see if that actually gets affected with the 360. Maybe some of that. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. Hard to say. Anyway, I think that's pretty much all we have on the 360 front here, though. So, get on the bus, have a nice ride, and I'll see you next stop at the boat for piracy. Yog diggity, a pirate's life it is to be. If you love the sea, you are a pirate.